Shush now, child.
Did everyone
Shush.
tweet out the tweet?
No.
Well, I tweeted out from Was It Good if you guys want to retweet it.
Do I want to? No. Will I?
Yes.
Probably.
All right, Ravi, we're recording and ready whenever you are
We're live on everything else?
on everything now.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to another Was It Good podcast live taping. We've got a lot to go over today. We've got a giveaway that we're going to be doing at some point in the show. We got a whole bunch of topics. But before, we're going to start, as always, with an intro written by Krishna, narrated by me, your host, Ravi. Here we go. Oh, my goodness. We're talking drugs, snow angels, battle stations, and hoops. I'm your host, Ravi, and I'm joined by my two bald brothers, Krishna and Arjuna. If you couldn't tell from my descriptions above, we're actually talking about Have a Good Trip, Adventures in Psychedelics, Snowpiercer, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and The Last Dance. Plus, we're announcing the winner of our plush Baby Yoda giveaway, and if you didn't enter, what the hell have you been doing? Seriously. How was that? I didn't even,
That was a perfect.
was pretty good.
did not mess up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like last week you were pretty bad, Like
Well,
that was an F. And
yeah.
this one was a passable C+.
That's good. I mean, that's awesome.
It's an exponential increase.
I want to talk real quick about Krishner's intro here. You started the intro with different things like drugs, snow angels, battle stations, is relationships to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
They don't talk about battle stations in Empire.
Not at all.
There's no Death Stars.
Doesn't the Emperor mention one under construction?
Nope.
Oh. Well.
Nope. So
I mean, there are battle stations at Hoth, though. Like
yes,
you arm
man,
the
your battle stations. Boom, saved it,
Yeah.
baby.
I mean, this is. I mean, I
You know,
guess it works.
you guys know
kind of.
real quick. Empire Strikes Back is just an inverse of A New Hope, right?
What? What do you
So,
mean?
so the entire structure of the movie is just inversed, right? So they start off with the big battle instead of ending with it, and then they end. They begin with the smaller moment. With the duel between Luke and Darth Vader. While like that movie, that was the first third. That's the last third.
So you're just saying.
They inversed it. No,
basic-
it's
you're-
actually one of the first. It actually bring it up in like film school and film studies class because it was one of the first it was one of like the first movies to really inverse that type of action sci-fi style of putting the big battle at the front. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to change up how these things were told. And we're like, well, why don't we put the big battle at the beginning?
And to give some context as to why the hell we're talking about Empire, we're going to get to Empire in a minute. As of the taping of this podcast, we're entering the week of May 21st. And May 21st will mark the 40th anniversary for Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
The greatest Star Wars film ever made.
If we were cool or we were smart producers, we would have found a 40-year-old who had never seen The Empire Strikes Back and had them watch it.
That's not being smart. That's just trying to create a viral moment.
Yeah, that's called being smart.
It might
Is
be
it, though?
impossible to find.
That's not. No, maybe you could find someone.
Yeah, I mean, how would we find them?
Yeah, what are you
In
gonna,
this
what are you gonna go on, like a 40-plus-year-old dating app only? Like, what is that?
That's not a bad idea.
Is there an app specific for
Yeah.
that?
There's always an app.
Yeah. Middle-aged, look, if farmers can get their own dating app, I think middle-aged people can get their own dating app.
I guess that makes sense. But before we get into Empire and kind of remiss and talk about the good times before the current Star Wars events,
Wow.
specifically the new trilogy, let's talk about drugs, guys. Everyone's favorite subject. A new documentary recently came out, co-produced, correct me if I'm wrong, by Ben Stiller.
He's actually listed as a producer on it. He is also interviewed as part of the various interview subjects throughout the documentary.
So the film the documentary is called Have a Good Trip, Adventures in Psychedelics
On Netflix.
on Netflix. Christian, you discovered this, and then you proceeded to take chocolate.
Yes, very special chocolate. Am I allowed to say?
You just had chocolate, that's all I'm talking about.
I had, but I want to tell them exactly what kind of chocolate.
Dark chocolate?
It wasn't Hershey's. It wasn't Cadbury's. It was special. It's a very special kind of chocolate.
Oh, like Special K cereal.
Yes, very, very similar. I saw this documentary. I will say I was planning on doing that other, eating that chocolate anyway, because I like chocolate.
Did you have it in like a s'more? Or how did you consume it?
I put the chocolate in my mouth and then I chewed it and then I swallowed it.
Wow! 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 Fuck me!
Fuck me! Fuck me! Oh my god. So have a good trip, Adventures in Psychedelics. It is this kind of wacky, humorous documentary on psychedelics. A little bit of history, but it's more on these celebrities and their experiences, their direct experiences with mostly LSD and mushrooms, and then there's even I think there's a DMT story in there as well. And it's basically a who's who. It's got so many celebrities in it. We're talking obviously the Ben Stiller, Nick Offerman is sort of narrating throughout. Deepak Chopra, the new age spiritual guy, is in there. Anthony Bourdain, Carrie Fisher,
Sting.
Arguably
the best interview subject.
He was the first one too, which was great.
His story, because I did see that, and his story, just to like quickly paraphrase it or whatever, he was basically on one of his farms, and he decided to have some psychic. He took LSD, right?
No, I think
he took peyote.
I think it was
He,
peyote.
he took peyote, and then he also has a second story later where he went to a retreat in Mexico City, which is like a peyote indoctrination, and he got deer blood splattered on him. It's a wild story.
He saw a comet, thought it was a dragon.
It was Halley's Comet. So I actually looked up. Halley's Comet was in 1986. That was the last time Halley's Comet was in. Wow. So this is in the mid-80s.
So he's out on his farm. He's doing his peyote, and his farmer hand or whatever is like, "Hey, come quickly help me with this cow who's giving birth."
Yeah.
And he's tripping balls.
Yeah, and he has to help deliver a baby calf. Yeah.
Haven't we all been there? You know.
Yeah.
No.
The best part of the documentary to me is for each of these stories by these celebrities, they sort of did a retelling. They kind of give you a sketch of it. Sometimes it's animated and sometimes it's acted out. And the ones that are acted out are hilarious because they're pretty well-known actors in these sketches. What's the guy?
Paul Scheer.
Is that Ben? Ben from Parks and Rec.
Oh, no.
What's his name?
Adam Scott.
Adam Scott does this like PSA, like drugs are bad, kids, and then they cut to this sketch of like, ooh, what happens when you do drugs, and it's Joel Haley Osment, the Sixth Sense kid, and a few others in there. It's just very wacky, and that was the best part in my mind of the documentary is these sketches or these animations of these stories, and it's supposed to be equal parts entertainment and then also sort of letting
Education.
a little bit of education.
Yeah.
And they even give some tips of like what not to do. Like don't look at your reflection. Don't drive. Try not to do it at nighttime. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the overall message of the documentary is, hallucinogenics in general are not for everyone. Not everyone should try them, but there are great benefits, and because I talked to a few medical professionals about how there was a big push in the 60s about how hallucinogenics helped with depression and anxiety and some mental health issues, and then there's also a run of news programming at the end about how that's starting to open up. I believe like Denver has legalized hallucinogenics and a couple other cities. And so
Wait, Denver's legalized it?
Yeah.
yes, correct.
Like fully,
I
I can go to Denver and just drop some acid?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if it's Denver or all of Colorado.
I think it's just the specific city as of right now.
But yeah, they have. But mushrooms are at least.
Mushrooms. Oh,
I think it's just mushrooms. Yeah, not all psychedelics.
I mean,
But
that's the
eventually,
doorway, right?
eventually, you would think that classification will be open. But it also talks about how the government is now, the United States government specifically. This is an American-produced documentary. Is now looking into the health benefits of hallucinogenics, and if that could actually help with a variety of things. And there's a lot of the people they talk to do advocate for the health benefits of hallucinogenics.
I thought one thing that was interesting with the documentary is how it opens up. It opens up with a lot of 60s and 70s archival footage, and it's basically military type propaganda, or it's military produced, or it looks like military produced propaganda against how it's all bad, et cetera, et cetera.
A little bit of
Ver-
Ronald Reagan in there.
Yeah, very similar to like what they did with the whole like the war on drugs with marijuana. Same idea, I think. One of the interesting things is there are a number of celebrities, guest appearances from various actors and actresses that are obviously no longer with us. Carrie Fisher being one of them, Anthony Bourdain. So obviously this was shot clearly over the course of X amount of time. I believe the Carrie Fisher stuff would have had to have been shot probably like early 2018, maybe even 2017
at the latest.
at the latest. So there was a lot of use of those types of folks. What do you, looking back at it and knowing like Carrie Fisher's an interesting one where she actually unfortunately passed away due to overdose of drugs. Not necessarily, I don't believe it was psychedelics or anything like that, but it was
prescription drugs.
Prescription drugs. Do you think it's something that they should have kept in? Did it help? Did it subtract from the overall like documentary message? What do you guys think?
For me, I think it makes perfect sense to include, at the very least, Carrie Fisher, because Carrie Fisher was a well-known sort of advocate for not all drugs but psychedelics, and she has some great stories too in there. Like she has some really poignant stories of like what fame was doing to her and how psychedelics sort of helped her. Anthony Bourdain's interesting because Anthony Bourdain did commit suicide, so and that's not covered or brought up in the documentary, and there's never been a reference, I believe, to his suicide and psychedelics, right? So, I don't think it took away from it. It is very apparent when you see the particularly those two come up because you're like, well, they're no longer here with us. So it's just interesting to get their take on something that a lot of people consider dangerous, right? I mean that I'm sure there was discussions, right, in the creative room, like should we keep this and should we not? And ultimately, I'm glad that they did, but I do realize not everyone will feel the same way. In fact, maybe someone sitting right here doesn't.
Yeah, I
feel
thought
the same way.
thought it was a weird choice, to be honest, and it took me out. And the tone of the documentary is very light. It's not a very serious. It's not like we're coming down hard on drugs. It's more like this is something that people do. We're exploring it. We're talking about it. And they kept continuously saying this is not for everyone. This is not for everyone. I thought that was good, but it is weird to put two people who had very high-profile deaths, and there's frankly still a lot of people question how those went down,
Right.
And so it felt like if you're going to put them in, you have to address it somehow, right? And it felt weird not to address it because it almost seems like they're still alive. They are not, though. So it was interesting to me, and to me, being having produced and edited and done those types of things, it felt like this documentary was cut before they died. And like specifically their parts, and they were added, and they decided just not to add any more material to it. So that was interesting to me, because I thought those were good things, but I think the documentary still could have been just as good actually without those stories in there. I think you could have gotten other stories. I think you could have expanded upon some of the other smaller stories that they put in there.
You want to know something? You want to hear something very strange? So Ben Stiller obviously produced it, and then he has a story, and a large part of his story is him talking to his dad, Jerry.
Yeah.
Didn't realize this. Just looked it up.
He died.
But this documentary came out on the exact same day that Jerry passed away.
Wow.
I would assume that's just coincidence.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, of course that's coincidence. It's just
coincidence.
It's just creep.
It's just that's a little, little
Still strange.
A little strange, yeah.
But overall, though, Christian, would you say having a good trip, Adventures in Psychedelics, was good?
Very much so. I was very entertained. I laughed a lot. The style even had me thinking I was a little, not tripping out while I was watching it, but I definitely felt like, like this is, it's goofy, and yeah. It put me in a slightly different frame of mind while watching.
Nice.
Juna, was it good? Did you like it?
Wow.
Are we doing
wow.
Are we doing that style?
Fuck
still?
me.
Fuck me.
Yes. Yeah, it was good. I did like the style too. It reminded me of A Scanner Darkly in terms of the visual style almost gives you a visual high. I definitely felt that, like, just your eyes are darting into different spots on the screen than they normally would when you're consuming a regular documentary or regular media. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was really well edited, and I liked it was a non-traditional style. It it's almost intriguing that you kind of want to rewatch it under the influence of something. Of chocolate.
I don't recommend psychedelics.
No, not
Have
necessarily
sugar?
psychedelics.
Sugar?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can do sugar.
Well, there we go. Moving right along, and those listening, those watching, and so forth. There it is. We do have our giveaway for the Baby Yoda plush coming up in a little bit. But before we get there, let's talk about his father. Oh, just kidding. Just
Wait, what?
kidding. Just
I see
kidding.
what he's
Just
doing there.
kidding.
I don't get it.
Well, when Baby Yoda first appeared, the initial reaction was it is Yoda's child, offspring, whatever. Granted, the official name for this thing is the child, but we don't know where it comes from or what it's anything about it. All we know is it's very cute.
We know exactly
and
where
it's-
it comes
and
from.
it's an anamorphic puppet.
I once heard a really good theory. Someone's like parent thought when they watched The Mandalorian, like, oh, this is, a prequel to Episode 1, and the child, it's it's legitimately Baby Yoda.
That's funny.
Which was interesting.
But wasn't Yoda over 800 years old? 900.
He was
years old?
900 years old by the events of Episode 5,
Oh, is that what we're
Potato,
talking
which is
about?
what we're talking about.
Oh.
The Empire Strikes Back. It is the 40th anniversary this week. 40 years of Star Wars and the Empire and the Force and Dagobah and Cloud City and Lando and C-3PO's arm being ripped off and Han making that awesome line of, I know, when Leia's like, I love you. So many good things.
Great things.
I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about our favorite parts.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow.
Bubba Fett.
That's your favorite part?
No, there's so many good parts to Empire.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I can boil it down to one. But in the meantime, Arjuna, what's your favorite part?
I think
Thank you.
I think my favorite part, and it goes back to when I'm a kid. When you're a kid, it's the Battle of Hoth. That epic battle that starts off this movie legitimately with a bang. The Empire legitimately strikes back right at the beginning of the movie, delivers a huge blow to the rebels. And it's a cool battle because the way it's delivered is they do get some small victories, right? You're not just seeing the heroes lose, right? They not Luke is able to knock down the ATT Walker and the AT-AT. Okay, whatever. They are able to escape, but they lose a lot of people. They lose a major base.
Secret base.
Yeah, and to me that is still one of the most iconic battles in Star Wars lore, right? There's so many video games that
Shadows
battle,
of the Empire.
that you can play and you can kind of recreate, and there's so much stuff from that, the little probe droids, a lot of the weaponry and the scenery and stuff that you see is some of the most iconic Star Wars stuff. And it probably now as you're older and you can be more cynical, it's like, yeah, why'd they pick an ice planet? Well, you can have different variations on the same things from the first movie and, all this stuff, but it was still really well done. And as a kid, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Battle of Hoth is by far, I'll agree with that. Battle of Hoth is one of the most iconic Star Wars things out there. I think it's up there with just Vader's presence and just Vader being Vader. Is the Battle of Hoth is like one of those battles that you'll always remember because it is so very, 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 very unique.
Well, I would argue, right, if you just did a poll of people, not just Star Wars fans, anyone about Star Wars, and asked them to name a planet, right? Tatooine would obviously be number 1, and I bet Hoth would be number 2.
Yeah, you're probably
Dagobah's
right.
number 3.
Oh, not Jakku?
Get out of here, you freak, you Fruit Loop.
Not Coruscant?
Oh, yes, Coruscant.
Coruscant only became relevant because of the prequels, and even then,
Not Naboo?
not Naboo.
Naboo.
Krisha, what about you? What would you say is that the thing that sticks out for you the most in Empire?
Yeah, I mean, you said there's a lot, but I'm gonna go with the what do you call it? The trite, the cliche one. Luke, I am your father.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Duh.
the way it's I don't know if anyone watches Kevin James's YouTube channel. He has this little series where he's a sound guy, and basically he green screens himself
Into movies.
and he's holding the boom, and he's the sound guy. And we just recently watched that scene with Kevin James in there. He's getting the sound for Darth Vader and Luke, and Darth Vader says, Luke, I am your father. And I got shivers. This is a spoof.
Well, actually, the technical line is, "No, I am your."
Yeah.
Not
I
Luke,
know.
I
No,
am.
I know. I know that.
Getting it wrong.
I'm sorry. I'm getting my own favorite part wrong. But I still got shivers. This is a spoof. This is a joke YouTube video. It's still the original footage, but like Kevin James is just there going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like he's learning it in real time with us, and like there's no music. Like I think right when he says, "No, I am your father," there's like no music.
Yep. And then the music
Luke,
kicks in.
and the acting in Star Wars is not great. It's never been great. It will never be known for great acting.
Vader.
But James Earl Jones, I agree.
That's voice
but-
acting too.
Mark Hamill, in my opinion, in that scene is probably his best job because
Oh.
he is crying. He is like, "No!" It's over the top, and some might even say corny as hell.
He's
But
like,
man-
I think he goes like, "No,
It can't
that's
be.
impossible."
Yeah.
It is by
so
far,
great.
it's by far the most
so
revealing, most
great.
iconic moment, right? I mean, it's on our thumbnail,
Yeah.
and even in our background over there, you can see behind Christian Movie Big Head.
Oh.
You can see, right there, Vader. That's the moment right there. It's really
I mean,
tiny,
it's
but
if it's not the biggest reveal in movie history, it's top 3,
Snape.
top 5.
Snape killing Dumbledore.
No,
nobody gives a fuck about that.
like it's
mean,
up there with
people do like Harry
Kaiser Sose. I think that's how you say his name.
Don't spoil it for people who haven't seen it.
I'm not gonna say.
Say
I'm not gonna
what?
say who.
Don't spoil it.
No, nothing. We can't. Is it The Usual Suspects?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
usual
Kevin Spacey movie
Gotcha.
before he was,
Yep.
Yeah,
Moving
yeah.
on from that.
But yeah, it's up there with the top movie reveals of all time. So in my opinion, yeah, that is the best.
Oh, but, like the Fast and Furious being all about family. That was a twist I didn't see coming. I just thought they were racing movies.
Oh
My
God.
favorite part, I think, is just the overall use of the Force and how weird it gets, right? So if you remember, like, if this is your first time ever watching Star Wars, you have Episode 4, and it's for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward story. It's good versus evil, right? It's they've got magic space wizards, and they've got these shiny little beam swords, and it's cool and whatever.
And they can move stuff.
And they can move stuff. And there's a little explanation, discussion what the Force is. But then when you meet Yoda and Yoda is talking about what the Force is and being able to see the future and hear things through the Force, it's very Force-like. It's weird. It's like the first time in Star Wars that we get more about the Force. And I've always, even with the new stuff and expanded Star Wars, I've always loved the Force stuff because it's weird and it's wonky and it's just strange. And there's no minus the fucking midichlorians, there's no like science behind it or reasoning or whatever. Or there's reasoning, but it's not like X's and O's and ones and zeros. It can be whatever it wants to be.
Yeah.
So that to me is like the thing that makes Episode 5 stick out in that trilogy. Now power rank all the movies. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
We'll be here forever.
9 through 1.
And we've done that already. In fact, if you want it, you can. We can't name drop the episode, but we did that already. Go check out Rise of Skywalker review, maybe.
I don't know if we did. I thought we power ranked the trilogies in that one.
Oh, okay.
Something
Yeah,
like
I'm not sure.
So here to wrap out the whole Star Wars Empire thing. It's 40 years, obviously, right, since Empire came out. Most likely, statistically speaking, 40 other years will pass. What do you think in another 40 years? What does the Star Wars landscape look like?
What?
Like, just imagine you could wake up tomorrow and it's 40 years in the future. So at that point, Empire has been out for
80
80
years.
years. The new trilogy has been roughly out by itself for 40 years.
Yeah, 40.
What's the landscape?
Oh,
There's at least
man.
2 new trilogies.
2 more trilogies.
At least.
I
Of
would
Star
say
Wars
4.
yeah. I'm going conservative here. Like, the blockbusters finally collapse, and we go in the cyclical nature that is the human race and go back to more standalone types of movies and away from the blockbusters. But honestly, in 40 years, I hope Star Wars is a
Dead.
little more niche, like it used to be. Honestly, I hate that it. Part of the reason there's so much stuff is because it is so popular. It is so mass appealing, and when something becomes mass appealing, it becomes this giant machine, right? And it becomes what you got with the sequel trilogy and all these TV shows and these toys and these books and everything.
Stuff.
And you become the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's just like, oh boy, Doctor Strange.
It's just there's not a lot of
Yeah.
like what makes episodes 4, 5, and 6 so cool and whatever is there was obviously merchandise up the wazoo,
Sure.
but there was also not a increase of having to introduce, like Arjuna says, Marvel Cinematic Universe, where there's like a character for every single human being on the planet. It's more like there's a hyper focus on the characters given and creating stories through books, novelization, whatever, to make that character more interesting. But now we've got the ability to just make a whole new 1,000 characters.
I mean,
for
roll back the tape 1 week, and your guys' proposal to fix the sequels was to do another 3 movies.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's
Correct.
probably what's gonna happen. Honestly, like
Oh, yeah.
the execs will be like, okay, you know what? People want episodes 10, 11. They're going to do some spin-off movies and TV shows. Some of them will do well. Some of them won't. They'll be like, we're not making $2 billion a year off Star Wars, so we need more movies. And it's just like,
I know what's going to look like.
can't-
I know what's going to look like in 40 years.
and that's like one property that hasn't been touched by reboots or sequels or anything like that I love. Back to the Future, right? You have the original trilogy
Give
of
it
Back to
time.
the Future movie. No, because the producer until the producer dies,
Yeah.
who has the rights and is sitting on them, and it's like, you cannot touch these until
Yeah.
I'm dead, because then they'll be put up to auction, and Warner Brothers or someone will buy it and then reboot it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
gonna happen.
I love that those movies stand apart. There's no sequels to them. There's nothing. Like, you can watch them. It's a perfect trilogy, and it's great. But and I kind of wish there was still that for Star Wars, but there isn't.
Yeah. I know. In 40 years, we're going to have definitely in episodes 10, 11, and 12. And we're going to have the longest running Star Wars television series ever. Don't know what it is yet.
The Mandalorian?
No,
it won't be The
No.
Mandalorian.
They're going
They're going to start one in the next 5 years.
Yes,
and it's going to keep going for another
Yeah, it's going to be a
40.
soap opera.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Like-
soap opera.
No. ABC, because remember, it's all Disney, right? So they have ABC.
Yeah.
So they're just going to launch like a full-on soap opera.
Yeah.
But it takes place in the Star Wars universe.
It'll be this. It'll be Boy Meets World, and it's going to be about a young boy who discovers his Jedi powers, and Rey trains him, and then he eventually grows up. He dabbles in the dark side. Like Boy Meets World and like those like coming of age stories, and we're gonna see him grow up and become an adult, maybe become half cyborg, dabbles in the dark side, breaks a few hearts. It's gonna be great.
But sitcom style.
No. This
should
is
be.
my most outrageous prediction. In 40 years, there'll be like either a trilogy of movies or like a 20-season show about a speeder. And like the history of this speeder, and there's just gonna be something like so obscure and stupid, and they're just gonna make a franchise within a franchise.
I think you're wrong.
Nope.
That doesn't sound right. Hopefully in 4 years I can still dress up in Stormtrooper armor and people are like, oh, I know what that is. Because that would be depressing if I throw on classic Stormtrooper armor and you walk into a convention and people are like, who are you supposed to be?
Yeah, it'll never.
That would be depressing.
It'll never happen.
Who knows? Never say
40,
never.
40 years is a long time.
It is a very long time.
It's
Some like the
not
original,
long enough.
the very first like Comic-Con was what, back in the 70s? I guarantee you some of those costumes back then, if they appeared today, you'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
But back then, they're so relevant and you recognize them, so you never know.
No, I do.
We have this question here for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why this
was
is here.
Empire Strikes Back good? No shit. Yeah, it was good.
It was not good.
Go to hell.
It was.
You probably
Great.
liked Episode 9 more than Episode 5.
No, Empire is the best Star Wars movie.
There you go. Speaking of depressing things in the future, a new series by TNT started this past Sunday. A remake of South Korean director
Bong Boon Parasite guy.
by the director of the recently Best Picture Oscar nomination Parasite. He did a little film prior called Snowpiercer, which the basic premise: Earth is cold. How do we survive? You jump on a never-ending fucking train,
That's right.
and you go round, 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 round the Earth. It's basically the movie like many of, is it Bong
Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho's films are
think.
typically about classism, and Snowpiercer, the original movie, is definitely about classism. And even TNT's new series definitely shows classism. The series, which just premiered the first episode, is the first of 20 episodes for season 1.
Wait, 20?
Yeah, 20 episodes. I looked up on IMDb.
God.
20
It's a
episodes.
TNT thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TNT
It's
loves
not
doing that.
HBO.
It's a lot, though.
I know.
The film, or I keep saying film. The series starts with basically a bunch of people breaking in and getting on the train before the Earth closes up and gets really cold and everyone dies. The train is 1,001 cars long. 1,001 cars. It's very, very long. And basically, from the back of the train is, poverty, all the way up to the front of the train is first class.
Sure.
Very similar to how a train operates right now, where first class passengers are usually towards the front and the lower classes are in the back.
The tailies.
It's
The
the
tailies, as
tickets
they're
you
called.
buy.
Yeah, the tickets you buy.
Yeah.
Well, these people didn't get tickets.
No, I
Because
realize
the
that.
train was for billionaires who caused the destruction of the Earth.
Makes sense.
Similar to what's happening today.
Wow.
Jordyin, you've seen both the movie and you saw episode 1 as well. What's your initial take? And we'll jump into the big, what the fuck for the show, but what's your initial
So
take?
the first 20 minutes is a straight up remake of the movie, right? It is you're introduced to this group. I mean, I can't remember in the movie if you actually see them board the train. I don't think you do.
No, you're
You're just there.
just there. You start there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's less time. We're earlier in than we were because I believe Chris Evans was younger, like he was like a kid or a teen, and has lived a lot of his life on the train. So it seems to in the movie it's been decades. For this, I think it's been like 6 or 7 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah, since they boarded the train. So you see them board the train, but then when you're introduced to their lives in the time jump, it's very similar, right? They live in the tail end. They're delivered the
Jelly food.
the jelly food. As spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie, is made up of cockroaches, and I'm sure that'll be. But like the visual is almost exactly the same as the movie,
Yep.
right? And there's just a lot of similarities. Even the character types. There's an older character who's missing his arm, who's kind of a mentor, played by the guy
Hector.
by Hector from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Which is it's a great cast. It's a great cast if you haven't checked it out. And there's they're planning a rebellion. They're about to kind of fight back. They're figuring out what's going on. So very similar, right? But it almost felt like they, built the sets from the dailies of the movie, and then that is where it diverges into something else.
You hit the nail on the head. The first part is the first 20 minutes are very much like the movie, and then in the movie there's that amazing and interesting scene where they do their first rebellion / Tilda
Swinton?
Swinton's character
She
in
in
the
it?
movie, or she's in the original movie,
Oh.
comes in and says that we've got to cut down the population by X amount because the train is an ecosystem and the whole thing works by balance. So in the movie, in order to keep that balance, they murder people. So the scene's kind of building up for this big battle that you think is going to happen, and then that's where, like Arjun says, everything changes. Instead, they take one particular guy, and now everything suddenly shifted and became very much like a TNT TV cop drama, because the guy that they pulled in his old life was a homicide detective, and there was a murder on the train.
Yes, and so actually the disjointedness
CSI on a train?
the disjointedness of the pilot can be attributed to the amount of reshoots and developmental hell that the show went through.
That doesn't give you...
It started.
Does that make you nervous?
Yes. For sure. So the show was originally conceived in 2017, and David Diggs or David. David. No, I think it's David. His character was originally a drug addict. Who, there's a shot. Remember
boy.
the shot of the rats that live under their beds?
Yeah.
So he was like a drug addict that would talk to the rats. And that was his original character. And then they changed it to we gotta put the TNT brand on this detective show. He's a detective, and that's why for those first 20 minutes, I'm pretty sure they didn't reshoot any of that. It's just he's almost slightly different, and there's no mention of him being a detective until they bring him in, and there's this murder mystery. And
to re-emphasize the fact that he's a detective, when he's left all his friends and everything at the tail end of the train, obviously while they're showing him around, and his love interest or whoever has like a badge, like a pristine like cop badge,
Yeah.
to really emphasize the fact that he was a cop.
Yeah. And so that's definitely one of the weaker parts, I would say. Of the
You
pilot.
guys aren't doing a great
Well,
job
but-
on selling
Hold on.
this.
There is some interesting things that they do introduce into this, because when I first heard about this movie being made into a show, I'm like, how does that even work, right? Like that, how are you going to stretch this into 8, 10, apparently 20 episodes of one season? And by the way, it's already been renewed for a second season.
Shut
And
up.
And
Oh,
they've
that's right.
And they've already shot almost the entire second season. So that means there is 30 plus episodes of this show out there. So it's like, how do you extend this when this was a movie where literally it was about classism, them fighting to the front, and then blowing it all up, right? How do you extend that? Well, there has to be something different. And
Well, it's simple how you extend it. You make 1,001 cars. And the main character has to go through every car solving a mystery.
No, there's actually so here's the other thing about the trains. The size of like what you see on the outside and the inside is very different, because apparently you can go underneath and then into a rail system that speeds you past to the other train cars.
Yeah, this show does. I mean, the movie didn't do a good job of it either, to be honest. Where it's like what you see externally and then what you're presented with internally just doesn't make logical sense.
Yes.
Where it's like they'll go into a dining car and one side is the left side and there's the right side, and it's maybe 4 people wide, but yet underground or like in these other trains they've got these massive like carts and like living quarters, and it's bizarre. It's if the external part of the train like mimicked what you saw visually for the internal, the train would be like this weird shaped fucking non-aerodynamic colossal mess.
Yeah.
The other big thing, so this entire train system is the thought child of Mr.
Wagner.
Is it Wagner?
It's a W name. I think it's Wagner.
I don't think it's Wagner.
It's let's call him Mr. W.
So it's thought up by Mr. W. He comes up with the entire train and all of that, and it's revealed at the end of it, Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
Jennifer Connelly's character is Mr. W, essentially, as opposed to in the movie, it was actually done by the actor who plays the Man in Black.
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. So that's different as well. Also, the engine and the front.
Mr. Wilford.
Mr. Wilford. And even in the movie, like in the movie, the train and the engine room is this very like intricate, interesting, large contraption. What we've seen of like the engine room / the front of the train is like it looks like the International Space Station, like one of the capsule modules or something. It's not that.
Yeah,
thrilling
and
or
remember
interesting.
if you remember in the movie, the big twist is that the children who are taken are the
Yep.
ones that are running the engine. So there's definitely some departures in terms of the full classism that they went for in the movie, and I think I mean, I guess we'll see. There's enough intriguing elements where I'll definitely tune in next week. And it's not like it was badly acted. I thought like the David Diggs did a really good job. There was a scene where David, right? Sorry.
He's by far the favorite part, I think.
Yeah, and like there's a scene where they give him food and they give him soup and a sandwich, and it's been 7 years since he's like seen it.
But does he eat babies? Because
No.
that is all I remember from the original Snowpiercer.
That hasn't been
is that-
referenced if they've done that.
is that
or
Chris
not.
Evans ate babies, and he said he hates how delicious they were. They tasted so good. That is what I want.
That
in a
hasn't.
Snowpiercer.
That has not been referenced. The only thing, like, so overall, it's a pilot. From a pilot to the next, a lot of things are going to change.
Yeah.
The one thing that I found interesting wasn't actually in the episode. It was like the promo for this coming season, and it was like showing all of the big like not cliche, but like the big moments that are going to happen. The train gets on fire. Them revolting and uprising.
Sounds pretty cliche.
And then it ends with the good guys and the bad guys realizing at some point that there's something else out there in the world, in the frozen dead earth. And if there is something, that will be interesting to see. Like what else? What's gonna? Because they need something external to the train in order to keep this going. In my opinion, for like multiple seasons. If it's just on the train, it's not going to work.
It sounds like, honestly what it sounds like from what you've been describing is that they're taking Snowpiercer and they're trying to add like the TV show Lost to it.
Probably.
And every season will be like this new thing. So, we'll have the monster, the thing, you'll have the trap door, and hitting the button to reset the world or whatever. All that stupid stuff.
I never saw Lost.
Consider yourself
You guys
lucky.
both watch Lost.
I watched the first. Well, yeah, I watched the first 3 seasons. Then
I stopped on
it.
the last season.
I only remember this because I remember there was one time back in New Hampshire, both of you had friends over to watch one of the season finales of Lost.
I don't have friends.
And
I
I remember this specifically because I decided to watch it, and an only episode I've ever seen of Lost, and I had no idea what was going on.
You
I just
sure?
remember a boat blew up and a character potentially drowned and died. But other
Are
than
you
that,
sure? Is this some other brothers or like just
No,
made up in your head?
It was definitely you two. Definitely you guys.
Actually, I didn't have any friends.
so
that's impossible.
Christian, you have to start it off.
Yeah, maybe.
because
We'll see.
You didn't watch it.
Start me off.
Last part that we totally forgot about. The voice actor who plays Trevor
Yes.
from Grand Theft Auto 5, he's in it.
Oh, great.
Stephen Hawking, and
He plays Trevor.
Yeah, he was in another thing, too.
He was in Westworld.
Yeah.
He was?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in the first 2 seasons.
He was as a host.
He was one of the
Oh, that's right.
Oh, but,
yeah.
so he's part of the characters that lead a revolt in the first episode, and David's character Andre Layton has to come out and kind of talk them down. And there's the other thing that's new to the show is that they put people that get punished get put into like this hibernation type of thing. So Stephen Ogg's character is going into hibernation as his punishment, most likely. But there's like a ton of blood and like gore everywhere. And when he gets him to talk down, he just like takes his weapon, starts hitting the ground. He's like, "There's so much blood."
It's like it's a very Trevor
Oh, my God.
moment from like Grand Theft
He's
Auto.
like losing it.
Yeah.
Also, so speaking of this, the show has been renewed for a second season, and they've cast a big name as a lead. I would assume he might be the new lead over David in season 2.
Chris Evans.
No, Sean Bean.
Well, he's going to die.
Probably.
But at least he'll appear.
Yeah.
Why even cast him anymore? You just know they're going to kill him off.
So, Ravi, was the Snowpiercer pilot good?
Yes, it was.
You're lying.
No, for a pilot, for something based on a really interesting movie and then taking it to a new direction, overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like you're lying. Well, are you going to ask him? The other bald one?
Arjuna was Snowpiercer, the TNT version, / TNT produced with / TNT elements / even the color grading didn't make sense at some points. Good.
I'm gonna say no. It was not a good pilot, but
Thank you.
however, I will put into there was enough element. I could recognize it wasn't good, but there were enough elements that will make me tune in next week to give the show a chance. Especially because Sean Bean is in the second season. I think it's smart getting that information out there because people are like, "Ooh, the show's gonna get better."
Yeah,
You
maybe.
know? So who knows?
I predict Ravi watches one more episode and quits. Arjuna will watch
The whole season.
8 seasons and then quit.
I can see that actually.
that's
that makes
my
sense.
I only watched 7 seasons of Walking Dead. Okay.
Oh, wow. Well, you're going to give this one 8.
Moving into something that probably should have ended before they allowed it to finish. The Last Dance.
That doesn't make sense. They won the ship.
Sure, and he got pizza.
He got food poisoning from that pizza.
Sure.
Well,
How many people get food poisoning from pizza, Christian?
By the way,
I want a national study done.
one of my coworkers, who's an editor, Wesley,
Yes.
made a great joke. So 5 guys delivered that pizza that he got food poisoning from, and then those 5 guys went on and formed the restaurant Five Guys. That's funny to me.
Wes also made a great joke on our previous live stream of shaving my head. He said, "We are now the bald tacos."
Oh, Wes.
That's a stupid
Wes.
joke.
Wesley, Wes.
That's a good one.
Anyway,
The Last Dance
Michael Jordan
finished it up.
is done.
All
One
I-
of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
I would just like to say this. I didn't watch the last 2 episodes fully.
You didn't watch any of it.
I just remember the last couple of shots being insanely cliche. Slow-mo shots of Mr. Jordan sitting overlooking the beach
cigar
in
lighting.
his his Malibu home with the cigar and just thinking
That's not his home.
what you don't think so?
We kn- that none of every scene of Michael Jordan given the interview.
Yeah.
He did not film in his home.
Did they rent an Airbnb?
Most likely,
they
'cause
rented
he wants to. He is a
Nice.
private person.
Yeah,
That is why so many people really love this documentary, because obviously the amount of access you had to Jordan is something that just hasn't been done. He doesn't give many interviews. He doesn't make many media appearances anymore, really, since he stopped playing, because he is an owner. So I think that's what a lot of people liked. In terms of the documentary, I liked it, and I kept going back and forth on this. I wish it didn't jump around in time so much. I kind of wish they really just did a straight chronological type of documentary, because I think unless you lived it, right? Unless you know the differences between the championship number 4 and championship number 5, it can be a little like, whoa, okay, what series are we in? What game are we in?
You're getting whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. And so
I assume the reason they didn't, because I do agree with you. There were, I think every episode I at least had one moment where I was like, "What year is this?
yeah.
What realm is this?" I do agree with you. I think the reason they had to do it this way though is because 70% of that footage is from that season that they recorded.
Yeah, and that's how they framed it, right?
Yeah.
It's called The Last Dance. It's about that last championship, and I get that you frame it as like this is them going into it, and then now we're explaining how they got to this point.
Yeah.
But I don't. Maybe there was a better way to do it. I think it worked, but it didn't work well in terms of how they framed it.
Yeah, actually, we have a great comment here from Noah. Shout out to Noah. If sports were happening as normal, nobody would care about The Last Dance. And I think that sentiment highlights how some people feel. And I think I said this on the first episode that we covered The Last Dance. 4 weeks ago? 5 weeks ago? I'm not sure. I can't tell if I enjoyed it so much because it's the only sports thing to watch. Or if it's legitimately good. I think it's a bit of both. I do think it is good. I found it very entertaining. I liked learning about all this stuff about Michael Jordan that I never knew before, and I liked how it brought in some of my favorite elements of the NBA. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. They got the Celtics early on, the Pistons. All of that stuff. I really enjoy learning about these characters, and seeing it all through the eyes of Michael Jordan just makes it even better because he's a psychopath. He has a legitimate hit list, So I enjoyed it a lot. But I do agree with the sentiment that I wouldn't have been as into it, or I wouldn't have tuned in every Sunday to watch this thing if there had been other sports. I do agree with that. I probably would have waited until it's all done and then binged it. Because that's how I like to consume things.
I do think it is a little too long. I think 10 episodes is a little excessive.
Yeah. I'm glad it was 10 episodes because there's nothing else. But I agree. If there were sports, I would be, I think, a little annoyed that it was so long.
So the only thing I was counter to that statement is the fact that the documentary was never supposed to come out in May.
Mm-hmm.
It was always destined to come out in July after the regular NBA season, because the thought process, and these are all rumors, the thought process was that LeBron was going to walk away with another.
No, we get that. But that doesn't take away from that's not the question, though. The question is it as interesting if there is other sports? Is it as interesting?
Because there are still other sports in July, right?
Yeah.
In July, you would have baseball. You'd be right in the middle.
might be
Oh, come on.
Well,
Nobody cares about baseball.
The Olympics? Would the Olympics be going?
The Olympics would be. Well,
They'd be starting.
The Olympics would be starting. Training camp would be starting for the NFL. People are starting to draft their fantasy teams. So there would be many more. There are many more things to divert eyes versus right now, where there is the Korean Baseball League and The Last Dance, right?
Now, don't get me wrong. I think it still would have been a hit.
Yeah.
We've gotten 5 new Jordan memes out of this thing, which
that
has dominated the Twitter conversation.
That in itself proves that it was a success.
Days after this thing airs, you just get new Jordan memes.
Yeah.
Responding to all kinds of
Well,
stuff.
and I mean the real success of this documentary was getting the iPad of the interviews and then showing them to Michael Jordan and getting his live reaction.
Yeah.
And I think that is a technique you're going to see a lot more in documentaries, specifically ones that circle around these type of big name people.
Is this the first documentary you can think of where
No, it's
the
not
creators have gone out of their way to get a live reaction like that and capture it?
I mean, it's been done, but this is going to be the first
To
big
this,
name
to
popular one.
Yeah, but to that extent though, like
No, not-
10 episodes and then
not to-
every episode, let's put an iPad in front of it.
I don't think it to every episode, but I
genius.
I think I would assume when they were filming it, it wasn't necessarily their intention to show the full live reaction shot either. But
I think it worked in a couple.
Yeah, and I
And
think
then they were
worked
like,
in
oh,
all of them.
we should just keep going.
And I think because it worked, they were like, "Ooh!" Now, like when they were reviewing the footage, they're like, "Wow, this is really great stuff." Their idea probably because I mean I've done it before too. Like when we tee up people and show them an interview subject, and they're watching it on an iPad or whatever. But they kept the cameras rolling, and we're like, "Wow, this is great stuff. Let's incorporate that into it."
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it was like, "Oh, we're going to put this in." It was like, "Wow, we're going to figure out how to put that in."
Yeah. I mean, it was great because those reactions are pure Michael Jordan. You get to see him laughing at other people trash talking him or, with their truth. And he's just like, that's just not the way it is. And I thought that was great. Interesting fact. They finished editing the last episode 3 days before it aired on Sunday.
Makes
Yesterday.
sense. Yeah.
So that's,
It was
I mean, that's
rushed.
wild. That is wild.
Yeah.
I,
I mean,
thought it
but
came out great.
But that's what happens for a lot of these things. There was a jump cut in the last episode. I will say that.
Ooh.
There was.
Ooh.
So, Krishna, would you say The Last Dance was good?
Well, if you couldn't tell, yes. Yes, it was very good. I enjoyed it. I'm glad. And this was the perfect time to do it because it's not like it's a current athlete. And so I think that helps because now you get to go way back in time, right? You don't. It's not LeBron James in his last championship, and I think a lot that it doesn't hit the same way because you're like, I actually remember that, and now it makes me miss sports even more. This is like history.
Yeah, because
You
a lot
know?
of the Twitter conversation was like, "What's the next Last Dance?" Right?
Tom
it-
Brady probably.
Is it
right?
is it the Patriots and Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Especially because like the comparison.
You could probably start that now because he's done.
he is done with the Patriots, right?
No, he's just done in general.
And so
Ooh.
and the fact that he also has won 6 like Jordan. And I think what got a lot of people going, what got my mind going was at the very end they talked about they won the 6th and then it was all blown up, right? Well, the Patriots won their 6th and then they ran it back another year. Last year in 2019. And someone actually took the clip of like the Patriots winning their Super Bowl and then the Jordan narration. It was like, he would have come back. He would have come back. Scotty might have been hard, and then they show Gronk because Gronk retired. It was the key piece that didn't come back, and then they went one and done in the playoffs.
Right.
So it was interesting. That's like maybe there will be a there will be an exposition about how the Patriots are constructed and winning their 6th, and maybe it was like a lot of these guys coming back for another year, and then Brady just being like, all right, I'm done, et cetera, et cetera.
But Arjuna, was The Last Dance good?
Yeah, ultimately it was good. I wouldn't say it was perfect. I wouldn't say it I've seen better sports documentaries for sure.
4 Days in October, Arjuna? You homer.
I mean, that's a great doc.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love that.
So wait, Arjuna's better sports docs or anything around New England sports teams?
No, that's not true.
Makes sense.
That-
It fits.
He's-
it
he's-
fits.
he's
Well,
biased.
Yeah,
not-
totally biased.
That's
Huh?
that's
Who's-
not even.
huh? What?
Name one sports documentary that's not a New England sports doc team that you like. Go.
That's better than The Last Dance.
I
can't think
can
of
name
one either.
series.
No.
Seriously? Yeah, what's
Yeah,
serious?
let's-
I mean, I think Hard Knocks were very well done. Like Hard Knocks in general, like I think the way they present those and do those are better than what The Last Dance was.
But you're not as passionate unless it was a New England team, though.
That's not true.
Just checking. Just checking.
So
here.
yeah, it was good, but I think I'm a little disappointed because I think it could have been even better with the access and the subject material they got.
Sure.
I would love to know how much of the footage was left on the floor, and maybe one day we'll see, air quotes, a Zack Snyder cut or something.
I hope not.
Ooh, teasing our Was It News.
Yeah, actually. Teasing our Was It News, and we'll start actually with that one. So, ever since I was intoxicated and went to go see Justice League with you all and wanted to leave that theater so badly, it felt like a rumor started that day that there was a better Justice League version out there that Zack
It
Snyder
started before
had
that
cut.
it came out.
Most likely.
Yeah.
And it keeps popping. This hashtag release the Zack Snyder cut keeps popping back up on Twitter. But finally, it looks like there's some actual news that this thing actually might be happening. What do we think? Let's go.
What is the news? I don't even know.
So apparently,
The Zack
in-
Snyder cut is going to be
in late February,
Yeah.
Zack Snyder was asked by executives at Warner Brothers to screen it to them. And he showed the Snyder cut to the people in charge at Warner Brothers who would have the say of yay or nay to release another cut of this movie.
And
Well, then the pandemic happened.
yeah, but what is this release? Like, what form is it being released?
No. Well, there's no news of if it's going to be released or not, right?
Right.
We just know that there is definite. So for many, there's been a lot of controversy. Like, is there a Snyder cut? Is there not? Zack Snyder has adamantly, very vocally, for the last 6 months to a year, been said, yes, there is a Snyder cut. I have it on my hard drive. I want to release it. I want to show the world it. Jason Momoa got on board. Henry Cavill got on board with it. Ben Affleck got on board with it. And now that he's showing it to execs, there's no debate now that there is another cut of Justice League.
Sure.
But now people want to know, could it be released and in what form? Well,
Right.
if execs are looking at it, that means there is some discussion of it being released in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's theaters or VOD or straight to DVD or streaming it on the HBO Max app, we don't know.
The question here, and there's really only two questions. Do you think a Zack Snyder cut is actually a better form of the movie?
No.
And would you see it?
It's not a better form of the movie. Would still see it because there's just been so much discussion around this, and
We would have to as bad talk.
I would love to. I would love to know. Like, I want to see it primarily to make the decision for myself of, was there always a Zack Snyder cut, or did he create a Zack Snyder cut because the internet told him to?
I think the latter. I don't think there was originally a Snyder cut. I think there were some pieces of segments, but I think he created it because of all the backlash. And it's like, I can make
What,
a
based
better
on
movie.
like cutting room, like scenes that weren't
well,
used?
I think he made the Schneider cut because obviously Justice League was so panned. And
But what I'm asking is,
Yeah.
what's the footage of the Schneider cut from? Like unused scenes? Like
Yeah,
where
so-
is he getting it from?
so Justice League, when he filmed it, right? They filmed a full movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had to
Reshoots.
leave, and they reshot roughly. It's not confirmed how much of the movie they reshot with
What's his name?
what's his name? Why am I blanking on Josh Whedon.
Josh Whedon.
Josh Whedon, right? It's not confirmed how much,
Whedon.
but there's some people estimate anywhere from 30 to 70% of the movie was recut, right? And then everyone had the indicator of what scenes they used from the Cavill mustache, right? Complete sequences changed, tons of the movie changed, and it's only been reinforced by these actors like Jason Momoa saying like there's an entirely other movie out there, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I've never heard this from a blockbuster movie that there's this alternate cut, and there's never been anything that come out and say like this is going to be definitively changing or whatever. If anything, it's going to confuse people because, I mean, I don't even know if the DC universe is still
Thing?
continuity wise a thing, but if it is, like,
I mean, it's the multiverse. They can explain it away with you released this movie, and now you have two of the same events happening, and they look different.
Why? Yeah.
too.
Why? I mean, why not?
Who
Right?
At this point, the DCU is such a mess. Just do it. Who cares? As long as quick comment here from Michael. Don't make me pay theater prices to see it. Amen, brother.
Yeah.
If you release it straight to VOD, it better be
Free.
$10 or less. I might spend $10. If we all watch it, we can pitch in like $1 each.
I say make it an exclusive for the HBO Max platform. This is like a no-brainer to me.
yeah, it's true.
Just put it there and like advertise like fucking crazy for 2 weeks.
You want to see the Schneider cut?
Pay us money, dumbass.
Pay the
Subscribe
Max
to
money.
HBO Max, where
Uh,
you can see Batman.
Speaking of other streaming services and that fun stuff, CBS All Access and CBS announced a new Star Trek spinoff. Another one. This one will take place precisely 10 years before Spock and Kirk go on their maiden voyage of the Star Trek Enterprise. This will be covering a young Spock with Captain Pike. The actors that played Spock and Pike from Discovery Season 2 will be reprising their roles. I am personally excited for this because they were the only two things that I found interesting
In season 2.
in season 2.
I thought you liked season 2.
I do like season 2, but
Because
they are
of those characters.
because of those
That's why I liked
characters.
it.
Because
Oh.
they pushed the entire story. By season 2 of Discovery, the Discovery ship was kind of cool. Just shut up and go away. You just don't make sense in this universe. And you know what they did? Spoiler alert, they blasted it 900 years in the fucking future.
Ah.
They've also talked about this show being a return to the Trek that people are used to, with specifically the first 5 series, episodic, more lighthearted, week to week, a bit more
Optimism.
optimism.
People want that?
Yeah, because specifically, it's really the rebuttal to what Discovery and Picard have been. Right? They've been
Bad.
these. A lot of people will say bad. A lot of people will say different.
It's like a very diplomatic way of putting it.
But
Different.
but so this is to cater to those Star Trek fans of like, okay, here's another show set on a starship with the captain. He's the main character. They go on adventures. It's fun. They're already established in our new Star Trek universe. My issue right now with Star Trek is they have 2 shows currently on, Discovery and Picard. They have announced this show. They've announced the Section 31 show. So we're going to potentially have 4 Star Trek shows on at once.
I'm so
That's
glad
never
I'm not,
happened before.
and this just makes me so happy I'm not a Star Trek fan.
I'm loving it.
I'm just so I love that you love it.
Thank you.
So that in 2 years, when you hate it so much because you are watching 4 seasons of bad television, I can't wait for it.
This comes from the guy who liked Triple Frontier, so that literally means
Triple
nothing.
Triple Frontier is one movie, one and done.
Right.
Whether I like it or not is great.
But
it's not going to suck. It's not going to suck. It's not going to suck hours and
It
hours
has
of
warped
life.
your life, and it's your views, and it's just
I
warped
also
your
thought
brain.
Extraction was good.
Guys, I think
Oh, God.
the Arrowverse is something to talk
Shut
about
up.
here.
I mean, that's where Star Trek is for me. That's at Arrowverse level.
Anyway, it's coming. I'm excited. It's something to talk about. Maybe we'll replace Christian with Julian.
For Star Trek, please do.
Moving into...
But he has to shave his head.
He does. He's going to shave his head.
We'll kind of blast through a little bit of this. Mandalorian, the Cassian show casting rumors. Real quick on the Mandalorian, we knew last week the actor that played Jango Fett, whose name I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to try, was cast. We know
Rosario Dawson
was also cast, and then Twitter decided to have a fun little joke and just start saying everyone who's ever appeared in Star Wars is being cast in the
Ahmad Best?
Mandalorian. Yeah, that was...
Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
that's not true, though.
that's not true. It was a joke.
I mean, who cares?
But Katie Sackhoff was cast as Bo-Katan.
That's another one.
Well, she's the voice
Timothy
actress, right?
Timothy Oliphant was cast as a bounty hunter, and a lot of people are excited because he's most known for his role as a cowboy in Deadwood and Justified. He was also in 2 episodes of The Office. For those Office fans out there.
Oh, that's right. Pam's first love interest.
Yes. Well, no.
Before Roy.
Well, something like that.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
And then also Jimmy Smits is returning to be
Bail
Organa
Oh,
in
and Cassian?
the Cassian show, as well as the rebel commander who plays the principal in Sex Education, who told Cassian to go kill
The British guy.
yeah, what's his name?
I have no
Mads
idea.
Mikkelsen's character,
Mm-hmm.
Jin's dad.
What the fuck?
So yeah, I mean you're just hearing all these casting rumors specifically because these shows have filmed and wrapped. So now they're starting to leak out
Information.
who's going to be in what.
And then for Disney listing, if you guys want to let us leak anything, you can hit us up on @wasitgood on Twitter. The DMs are open.
Wait,
Wow.
are they?
We're thirsty
should
for
be.
your DMs.
Jesus. Oh, real quick, I should have mentioned this under when we're talking about the Snyder Cut. This is kind of news because it's funny to me. What's his face? Who's playing the new Batman?
Oh,
yeah,
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. Pandemic has happened. He refuses to work out and stay in shape for Batman. More power to him. More power
he just
to him.
refuses to.
He's like, I'm not working out. He's like, actors have set a bad precedent for what we expect for characters on screen.
Oh my God.
And he's like, yeah, I'm done. So I should have mentioned that because DCU is a mess, It will always stay a mess.
That
because
sounds
of
like
heroes like Robert Pattinson.
That sounds like a contract, though. Like he signed a contract.
lawsuit.
That's a lawsuit. The
Oh,
studio
yeah,
could
well,
sue him.
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there because it's too good not to mention.
But
Did
hey,
did they finish filming Batman?
No, they didn't.
though? Oh,
That's why they. That's why
thought
they
they
wanted
might
it to
have.
stay in shape.
speaking of other superhero things, the New Mutants, which will never ever make it to
It's cursed.
the screen ever, I think.
It's cursed.
I mean, I don't know. I saw the trailer and I was intrigued.
I
that
saw
the
the
scary-
trailer
was
like
it the
5
scary
years
one?
ago, and it was intriguing.
The scary, yeah, but super scary one.
That looks so good.
Yeah, it's never going to be released.
It's the best looking Marvel thing I think I've ever seen.
It will have to be released though. So the update in the outline is the reason they can't put it on Disney Plus, the reason they can't put it on a streaming service is because of the previous contracts with Fox and with the studio and with the actors specifically warrant that it has to be released in movie theaters. So it will hit the movie theaters one day. It just won't open in many, and it will be years from now.
and
my
you have to
God.
wear a mask when you see it.
Avatar: The Last Airbender finally joins Netflix after the movies have been on Netflix for a while.
Is it a return to Netflix? Was it on Netflix back in the day? I feel like it was, and then it left, and now it's back.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's how I
honestly.
watched it.
Yeah, I
On
thought it was
Netflix,
on
right?
Netflix too.
I'm pretty
so
sure
this
that's
is-
how I watched it.
This is a
originally.
return.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a
return.
return.
All
for
I can say
sure.
is Hallelujah. It's one of the greatest kids animated shows ever. It's my personal favorite of all time.
This is a children's show.
I mean, I'll ask Arjuna, which one's better, Avatar: The Last Airbender or SpongeBob? Go,
I mean, you have to say Avatar because
because you're smart.
SpongeBob's first 3 seasons are incredible,
Well,
and then everything after that is just dumb
Avatar: The Last Airbender is only 3 seasons. We're
Yeah.
talking about the original series. Compare those 3 seasons with SpongeBob, the first.
They're
three.
they're not comparable, right? I mean, SpongeBob is episodic, and Avatar is a self-contained one full story.
But which one's better?
You don't compare them. That's like saying
Cop out.
that's like saying what's better, water or ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, but they're different.
No,
No.
ice cream. Ice cream
One is
contain-
objectively
ice
better, yeah.
cream contains water, so
Everything
therefore,
contains water.
therefore, ice cream is water.
Yeah, you consume both.
Yeah. Speaking of that, anyone get Ben and Jerry's after this?
No.
So that's the New Mutants. That's Avatar. I think we're at that time, guys, where we get to give away this toy in a violent fashion.
Someone fart.
No. Arjuna, how are we doing this?
Well, we can't share the screen because of technical issues. So,
So, real quick, so this is a Baby Yoda plush. It comes from the Disney store. Sure. Yeah, shopdisney.com. You can actually purchase this yourself at shopdisney.com. We're giving it away because we told you to go do something and you did it. And that thing was to go follow at Was It Good and like the tweet
Or Instagram post.
or Instagram post, apparently. Arjuna is going to run the super duper secret machine. Christian will be providing sound effects. Go ahead. And the winner is...
Whoa!
Who's the winner?
the winner is friend of Bad Tacos Media, Lo Espinoza.
Oh, Lo, you
well
have
done.
a Baby Yoda plush coming your way. We'll probably wait till after. No, I'm kidding. But
Wow.
congrats to Lo. We will be doing other giveaways. I don't know if you guys can tell based on our set. We have some stuff.
Too much stuff.
Some stuff I don't personally like anymore.
And some people we want to get rid of.
Okay, that's pushing on a line that you shouldn't bring up.
We're getting rid of our host.
But
We're
for those
auditioning for new hosts.
But for those listening on the podcast, if you follow us on Twitter at Was It Good, you will see when we have these kind of giveaways. They're very simple. They're just follows and likes to be entered for your chance to win. So definitely keep an eye out there. Any closing remarks or thoughts before we get going?
Wow,
Well-
you've never done this before.
There was one thing that we didn't get to in the Was It News. The rise of drive-in theaters. I really just wanted to touch on real quick.
How much are they paying you?
They're not paying me anything. I just
Because you
wanted
keep bringing this up.
You sell out.
drive-in theaters.
You brought it up like 2 weeks ago, and for drive-in theaters, it's a very specific niche. So my theory is
It's not niche.
you're being paid.
You want to know how I can prove to you it's not niche? So Sahara and I went to a drive-in theater
Not helping
on
your case.
Saturday night.
Yep, he's being paid.
on Saturday night,
Yeah.
right? And we went to like the Tiki one that's like 40 miles from here or whatever.
Jesus.
And it's like in the middle of nowhere, right? It's quite the drive. They were playing 8 movies. And most of these movies are very old. Or not very old, but like Knives Out, for example, came out last year. Trolls World Tour came out over a month ago.
I was really expecting movies from the 50s when you said
No,
really old
no,
movies.
I mean, if it was a classic, it would make sense if they were busy. But I'm talking about like movies that have been out for a long time that you can stream, that you don't need to go to a drive-in for. Then there was 2 other movies that were like Amazon Prime movies. There was a horror movie I'd never heard of. There was a Apple TV Plus movie on there as well.
Did you catch the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League?
No, but the drive-in theater was an hour to get in.
Yeah.
The cars were that backed up, and most of the drive-in area was full.
Mm-hmm.
The snack bar line was like 30 minutes long.
Wait, do you have to get your snack? Do you have to drive with your car?
No, you could like line up, but you had to have like 6 feet apart and all that type of stuff. But like it was so like for movies that you've never heard of, like this thing was packed in the middle of nowhere. So it's just interesting to me. Like I think drive-in theaters are going to continue to see a rise in popularity, especially with like social distancing and stuff, because it's a very easy way to social distance within your car, right? You're able to kind of drive in and do that. So
I would not drive 45 minutes and then wait an hour to go see a drive-in movie.
you know, I wouldn't have either, but we didn't know it was going to be an hour wait.
Fair enough.
And once you've driven the 45 minutes, you're not going to just turn around.
Why? You would have gotten home before the hour of having to wait would have like gone up. You could have driven there, driven back, and then comfortably watched the Trolls movie in the comfort of your own home.
We didn't watch the Trolls movie. We were going to watch the 2 like VOD movies, but then that one was actually sold out.
Huh.
So then we went to the horror one and like we saw like how to make a girl. It's the Beanie. It's Jonah Hill's sister. There's a movie she was in. It was okay. It wasn't great. But I mean, the drive-in theater experience is cool. Like I'd never been. I went for the first time a few weeks ago. This was my second one. It's just interesting.
Nice.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
Nice. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good. Like I said, you can find us on Twitter at Was It Good, on Instagram at Was It Good BTM, and of course on twitch.tv/wasitgood. This podcast is filmed live in front of a 0 studio audience, but it is filmed live on Twitch. You can come hang out with us, interact. We usually go live just before the taping and then stick around a little bit afterwards so that we can give you life advice on what pop culture, TV shows, and movies and things that you should be buying. And then you can give us in return Ben & Jerry's suggestions. So, there you go.
Wow. What is your obsession with Ben & Jerry's?
I really want sugar right now.
Why?
I don't know.
We
It's
have
that
like
wine you're
like
drinking.
pure sugar, cane sugar.
I'm probably going to have that.
Yes, like
What is
spoonful
wrong
of
with you?
Goodbye.
All right, just stop the record. Are there any
Stop this.
questions?
We have lots of comments.
We do?
We do. First, Noah. He did not win the. He didn't win the prize
Sorry,
here.
Noah.
The plush Yoda, but he says congrats to Lo, and he says he'll take your beard instead. So you need to cut
Thanks,
off your
Noah.
beard. We'll shave off your beard. We're gonna put the hair in an envelope, and we're gonna send it to Noah. Michael believes that going to a drive-in theater is a major waste of time. Dad suggests have some brownies instead of pure cane sugar or Ben & Jerry's. What else we got here? Michael will only watch Zack Snyder's cut on YouTube or free on HBO Max.
Hey, look, Christian has been replaced.
I'm very cute now. Noah did present another sports documentary that is better than The Last Dance. I agree. It's Icarus. The Russian doping
Oh yeah.
that turned into. It started off as one documentary, and it turned into this international
Cluster.
nightmare. It was a night. I felt so bad for the filmmakers of that thing because they got pulled into this thing that they did not want to get pulled into.
It was about how to get away with doping. Like, and the guy, like the producer, host guy, was like the one that was supposed to do it.
Exactly.
And he just met this one other guy.
Lagging Cheese, I believe that's Aaron, said, who is who all heads shaved. So Aaron, get your glasses checked. Oh, you don't have glasses. Dad, Commando is still the best. No, Empire Strikes Back is the best. So yeah, there's a few other comments here and there. Michael does have a prediction.
Pain.
That Yoda is actually Baby Yoda, and the Mandalorian the show will end with them going back in time, and the Mandalorian will raise Yoda, and Mandalorian will eventually become Boba Fett. I kind of love that.
That's
theory.
not how this works at all.
That is a great theory, Michael.
It's a theory.
And Michael,
my
I will be ready for D&D in 5 minutes.
You have D&D in 5 minutes?
I have a solo session.
Ooh, it's like a date.
Because the party is split.
Oh, dear.
We are all off on our own separate quests, and we're all facing mortal danger. And then there's Uverbin sitting on his ass getting fat in some library.
If I ever do join back with the D&D
It's not
stuff,
if, it's when.
I want my character to be obese and have to fight with obesity.
Well, you know what we should do? You know, all the books our characters.
You're fighting heart disease.
All of our books our characters created. When he comes back, we should put him into a pile and light it on fire
in front of him. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
My character can light the fire because my character doesn't know how to read.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, only an ignoramus would light a bunch.
Hey,
of
Lo,
books on
if you're
fire.
watching,
Well,
I just sucker punch you. Toy.
for those on Twitch, we're gonna wrap it up. Make sure you go ahead and follow us on Twitch. Make sure you got the subscribe and the notifications turned on. We do go live. Typically, it's on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Fridays, and sometimes on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on what insane, messed up thing we want to do. This past Sunday, for example, we made Arjuna look like this. He's bald now.
Ow.
But yeah, make sure you follow us along and all that crap. Goodbye.
Goodbye.